Hi everybody, my name's Rhys Duncan. I lead the EMEA Solution Consulting team here at Avalara, and today I'm going to talk you through our VAT reporting offering. Now, before I jump into the tool, I'm going to talk you through a couple of slides just to give you an overview of some of the key features and functionalities of the solution. So our solution is both an on-premise and SaaS offering. Today I'm going to focus on the SaaS version, but they have the same key features and coverage. Now, we support 61 countries globally from a VAT reporting standpoint, but in the EU, we also support the European local requirements, such as the EC sales listings, Intrastat, SAFTI, where it's a periodic requirement, control statements, and other local requirements. We also provide a solution within the tool for Hungary Live reporting and Spanish SII. Now, for e-invoicing and other real-time reporting requirements globally, we've recently acquired one of our long-term partners, Imposia, who can support with these requirements. For the US, Canada, as well as Brazil and India, we do have an offering, but they are separate from the solution that I'm going to show you today. Now, in terms of the process of using the solution, both the on-premise and the SaaS version have a very similar process in place that I'm going to talk you through right now in high level. In terms of getting the data into the tool, you can utilize the manual upload with some of the key formats, Excel, TXT, CSV. However, we do have extractions for some of the key ERP and accounting systems, such as SAP Unit 4. Once the data is in the tool, we actually have 160 plus checks that we're very proud of, which is run on a line-by-line basis when the data is brought into the solution. Where we find errors or warnings, we actually put that to a separate error or warning bucket, where you can then either make corrections outside of the system or utilize the functionality within the tool to make corrections, all with a full digital audit trail. Once you've utilized the automatic checks, we then have the ability to run some other ad hoc reports in terms of analysis. And then across both the platforms, we have reconciliations for both GL reconciliations, Intrastat reconciliations, as well as intercompany reconciliations as well. Once you're ready to file the return, we are where it's possible to have direct filing to the tax authorities. We allow that within the solution. Alternatively, in most countries, we provide the e-format for you to simply download that return and upload it to the tax authorities website. We also do provide PDFs in both local language and in English in all of our countries. And finally, our solution is kept up to date by our content managed team in Avalara, where we will support all of the legislative and format changes for the solution itself. Okay, now let's go into the tool. So this is the landing page for the VAT reporting solution. Each of our customers will have their own username and password credentials. Now I'm going to give you a very high level overview of the tool. In terms of the different sections at the top, we have the returns where you can see both your open VAT returns with due dates, and you can then filter on what's the highest priority for you. And then once you've filed the return, they'll be moved into the closed return section for you to store your VAT returns, all with the underlying data. Errors and warnings, this is where you will start to see any errors and potential warnings within your data. Transactions, this is where you can see all the data that's been uploaded via extractions. Alternatively, you can import your own data yourself manually. In terms of reports, this is where you can utilize all of our transaction reports. We have a number of those that can be run on an ad hoc basis. We've also got other reports that you can utilize. From an MTD standpoint, any information received back from HMRC in terms of liabilities, payments, and returns will be stored within this separate section. And in terms of settings, this is where during implementation, all of the settings, companies, VAT codes, exchange rates, VAT groups will be set up for the system to work. Okay, so I'm going to upload some data. I'm going to do this manually today, and my data is based on it's UK, Germany, and Netherlands. So I'm going to simply drag and drop this XLS into the system. Very quick, you can see that it's showing me at the moment, it's been queued, but if I click on this process documents, this will take me to the same screen here, where I can then start to see the transactions that have been brought into the solution. You can see here that the file has now been successfully imported. we have 47 transactions that have been successfully processed. We have 3 that have actually, we've found an error within those transactions. But in total, there's been 50 lines that have been sent through to the VAT return. If I look at the file, the underlying transactions, you can see here that we now have a very user-friendly layout of all of those 50 invoices that have been sent through. You can very quickly as well see the lines that have been pushed into error mode. For the ones that have been successfully moved to the VAT return, you can click through, and we have a very nice user interface which provides you firstly with an overview of that transaction, but underneath we then show you the suppliers, the customer information, document details, invoice line details, and very nicely we also provide you where these transactions are going within your VAT return and other filings. In this case, your EC sales listings and your Intrastat, as well as your ledger. In addition, we provide the functionality for you to upload invoices or other files to the solution to attach it to this specific transaction, as well as add comments. If we go into the errors and warnings and we search on my company for this period, you can then see the 3 errors that have actually occurred within my upload. If we take a look at these 3 very quickly, the first one is telling me that the VAT amount in the data does not match the rate on the VAT code that has been applied to this transaction. The VAT code has a VAT rate of 20%. This is a UK transaction. If I click on View and Resolve, I can see the invoice that this now applies to. We can also see, again, that the VAT rate on the tax code, but the system is now calculating the difference with what is expected. I click on the details and I take a look at this invoice. You can see here that this is a UK supplier going to a Northern Ireland customer. If we go down a little bit further, you can again see the ship from is UK, the ship to is Northern Ireland. We have a VAT code here of UK, SAL, local 20% for a commodity. But you can see here that the net amount is 100, but the VAT amount has been incorrectly calculated at 19%, giving us £19 of VAT. In this case, we'd expect if we take a look at the invoice, this has probably been sent to the customer. If this is the case, you don't want to correct this. This should still be reported with a credit note and a new invoice being sent. So in this case, you can actually disable that VAT rate check, and that will be pushed into your return. If we take a look at the second example, there is a transaction where the VAT code is actually empty. Now, this is really important. We do not stop this from coming into the return or into the solution. Instead, we just push this to one side for you to review the transaction and for you to have the ability to actually add your VAT code directly to the transaction. So if we look at this is a UK transaction going to a UK customer. Again, we look at the ship from, ship to is UK to the UK, and the VAT amount is correct at 20%. So in this case, I can manually add in my VAT code, UK, SAL, local, 20% commodity. Now, when I click Save and Reprocess this document, this will actually go through all the checks again. If it's not happy with the VAT code or anything around the transaction, it will flag this as an error. But in this case, I know that that VAT code is correct. So that's now removed this from the error bucket and moved it into my return. And then finally, if I look at this last one, this is telling me that for an inter-community transaction, there must be 2 valid EU member state VAT numbers. So if I click on this, you can again see the invoice number. This is now for a Dutch transaction. I click on details, and you can see here that we have a Netherlands supplier going to a Norwegian business. If I go down and look at the ship from, the ship to, again, this is from Netherlands to Norway. The VAT amount is 0, the net amount is 1,000, but the VAT code is incorrect. And this is because this is a Netherlands, NL, S for SAL, I is for an intra-community supplier, and 0 rated. So actually, this should be an export and not a Norwegian, and not an intra-community supplier. Now, what the system's doing here is it's looking at this, it's saying this should be going to my VAT return in the Netherlands, my Intrastat return, my EC sales listings, but hang on a second, this is going to Norway, so it shouldn't. So it's flagged it as an error. So I'm going to change this to E for export. I save and reprocess that document, and now all of my errors have been removed from the error bucket. If I go back to the transaction screen, you can now see that all my 50 transactions have been processed and we no longer have any in error mode. What you're probably thinking is there an audit trail for this? Yes, there is. If we go to the transaction reports, we go to the changes log and we go to just today's date. For ease of seeing these, you can now see that we have the 3 transactions that I've changed. You've got the first one where I disabled the VAT rate check. You've got the second one where I added in the new value of my VAT code. And you've got the third one, which I've moved it from the SI, intermediate supply, to the SE for export. This can also be exported, and you can utilize this as maybe a start for journals or just an internal backup of all of the changes that have been made. Once we've gone through the errors, the next part is then to look at the VAT return. Now, if we go to my company and we go to June, you can start to see all of the countries and the returns that I have in scope. You can also see the due dates for these returns. Now, I just want to focus firstly on the UK for ease of reviewing this. If I click on UK, click apply, I can then see my UK returns that are in scope. So at the moment, I only have a UK VAT return. If I click on the details of this return, you'll start to see the VAT return automatically being populated with all of the transactional information. A couple of ways to review this. You can click through the boxes to see what's making up, in this case, box 6. You can see those transactions that make up this box 6. You can also drill through into the underlying invoices, and this is the same screen I showed you at the beginning, where you can then see all that information. This is consistent across all countries and transactions. It's very easy for you to review your individual returns. Alternatively, you can actually review all of your transactions by sales and purchases. In this case, I've filtered on sales. And if you scroll to the right-hand side, you can see the matrix of the boxes and the values that's going up on the boxes for each transaction. If we go back to the return in the UK, there is the ability, again, this is consistent across all of our countries. You can add manual adjustments to this. So you can go through, you can add in a reference, you can add in a net amount, a VAT amount, select those boxes, and that will then be stored in that box, but also it will create a new transaction for all digital. To file the return in the UK, firstly, we have, as I said earlier, we have PDFs in local language and in English. So you can see each of those PDFs that we keep up to date within the tool. This could be stored, printed, saved, but this is the UK VAT 100 VAT return. However, for the UK, we have the MTD requirement. So you click on fixed formats here, you can view filing, and this will give you an overview of the JSON script that we're going to send to HMRC. This can be downloaded if you wanted to store it, but very easily you click submit return, you see the 9 boxes, you click OK, that files your VAT return for HMRC. If we take a look at another country, for example, let's take a look at Germany, and we go to June. You can now see that the German return is here, but also we've got Intrastat and DC sales listings. If I click on the German VAT return, you'll very quickly notice that although it's the same format, we now have the German VAT return boxes. Again, you can drill through, you can view transactions individually, you can add manual adjustments. If we go down to the submission process for Germany, you can firstly click on the PDF, German or English. Let's look at this in English. So you'll see the German VAT return all converted by Avalara in English format. However, in Germany, we also have direct filing under the Eric Elster submission. Again, very similar to the UK, you click on view filing. You'll see that in this case, the XML script that we're going to send to the tax authorities. You then just need to add in your certificate PIN, upload that for the first time, and then go down and submit your return. Just to close off on Germany and to show you the EC sales listings and Intrastat, If we look at the intrastat first, this is where we split both between the dispatch and the arrivals. Here you can see I've just got one line for demo purposes, but we will have the specific intrastat format for each of those countries. You can see all of that information there. Just a note here that the errors are all run based on VAT intrastat EC sales listings. So we do run a number of checks on the intrastat data as well. Again, similar, we have different formats for filing for this. And then finally, the EC sales listings, we do summarize your total sales to each of the European VAT numbers. In this case, we just have one for the Netherlands. We have two for the Netherlands, sorry, but you can see here. Again, the submission is, we have a number of formats to submit those. Now, additional feature within this solution is we do have a built-in check for the VIS or the VIS website. So if you check, you can automatically check these VAT numbers are correct. You can see here that we've now got a successful passed the company name and the address for these two VAT numbers. Finally, just to give you a quick view of the GL reconciliation within the tool, we do have, as I said, a built-in GL reconciliation. This is where you upload all of your GL data. We will then check based on the date, the invoice number, and the value, whether these transactions are included in your VAT return. Additionally, we do the other way around. So we'll check all of the transactions on the VAT return, are they included in your GL data? And you can see here that where there's an auto reconciliation, that means it's successfully matched that transaction in your VAT return. Where it's 0, it means there's no VAT applicable. And where there's no rec, that means that we have a mismatch with this transaction. So that's a high overview of the solution itself. Many more features to show. And if you'd like to have an additional demonstration, then please contact myself or one of your Avalara contacts and we can set that up for you. Thank you and have a nice day.